Get started. So thank you guys for joining again. Hi to all of you watching live on eXp Family Tree. As always, we have our very own Alison, who is also within eXp Family Tree, and she is going to be talking to us today about open houses. So I think lots of you do open houses, maybe some of you more consistently than others. And if you can really hone this and treat it like an event and a true lead generation strategy, you can build an entire business around it. I know that because I did, and I know Alison did, and probably others on this call. So we want this to be super interactional. If you're watching live, you can chat on the live stream and I'll monitor that for Alison as well. Those of you here, chat in the chat box or unmute yourself and let's make it a great conversation. Thank you again for being here. Alison, before you get started about your topic, can you just give us a little bit of information about yourself, please?
Of course. Yes. So Alison Alston, I am with Lodestone Real Estate at eXp here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm closing out my 6th year in the business. I actually moved to Charlotte from Connecticut 7 years ago and was brand new to real estate, got my license when we moved here and knew absolutely no one other than my husband. So that's where open houses came in. I love people. I love connecting with people. And I knew I was not going to be a cold calling expert. And so I said, how do I go out and meet people? I'm going to go start hosting open houses. So these are kind of some of my best practices that I've been taught over the years by many phenomenal mentors, and then just kind of added to as I've gone through it. Some of these things will change as the market shifts, and we'll talk through that a little bit. But I highly recommend it, and have fun with it is my biggest thing out of all of this.
I love it. Have fun is a very important thing. If you are dreading doing what you're doing, then it really feels like a job. You don't do it quite as often as you should. But if you can get into a flow and really enjoy it, then you're going to go do more of it. John, who is on the call, Coach John Dietz, said when he was in production, he was doing 4 to 6 a week, depending on the week. That's awesome. I know Chrissy in Minnesota does open houses, and a number of you do. Joanne, I started my business as well on open houses, and I did for a weekend. So I did 2 and 2 on Saturday and Sunday, and I just took a day off during the week. And just knew those were my 2 days to work, because like you, Alison, I was in a new area. I didn't really have a great sphere of influence. Back a long time ago when I was doing this, we had no social media. I mean, I really didn't have a way to meet people unless I was literally going to do an open house or door knock, and Lisa's shaking her head like me too. But, so we kind of were forced to doing it, but I will tell you, I wasn't that good at it. But what made me good at it was doing 4 a week, pretty much for like 3 years straight, with maybe just a couple weekends off, right? Because anything that you do consistently over time, you get better at it. And honestly, even if you're not that good at it, the consistency is what's just going to generate some business. You just can't help it, right?
Exactly. And that's so similar. I did usually 4 a weekend. I would do 2 on Saturdays, 2 on Sundays, and then I would take a different day of the week off. You really have to be passionate about it, love what you're doing, and again, have the fun in it. I guess some more background for people. So yes, I started 6 years ago, and my first year I did about 5.5 million in sales. And this year I'm going to be around 90 million.
Wow.
So the work
Look
works.
at Lisa says, whoa,
keep hustling, do it.
Growth. That is some growth. Who wants to go from that to that? I think we all want to. That's amazing. Yay. This is why we want to be listening to Alison. So you guys all get your notepads out and listen up, because she's going to have some good stuff to share.
Awesome. So tech is not my friend. Cari and I were chatting about this a little bit offline before this, but we're just going to roll with it. So open houses. So I think a fun statistic that's always stuck with me is 1% of people who come through an open house actually buy the house. The rest of them are leads that are coming and looking for you. And that was a mantra I repeated to myself over and over every weekend. I'm going here, I'm hosting this open house because the leads are coming and looking for me to guide them through their process. They need me to be the one to do that. Okay. We'll start with the basics. How do you pick the open house? So some big things: half a mile from a main intersection. And we're going to get into why that's so important in a second. Half a mile from grocery store, amenities, restaurants, shops, those sorts of things. Half a mile from a new home construction community. Those are some of the key factors I'm looking at. So the reason these are all important, you want traffic. Okay. Signage, I would typically put out 30 to 40 signs for the open houses, and I would slam the main intersection. So where you're coming into that neighborhood, I might have 10 signs right there. And I was the obnoxious sign woman. And I got people to come into my open houses and they would say to me, we felt like we had to come in because you had so many signs. We knew how excited you were for us to see this house. And we've never seen that many signs. So go wild, go crazy with it. I never did balloons or any of the extras, but I know those work too. So if balloons are going to make you excited, go do it. The main intersection is really important because you want a lot of traffic driving by and being able to see it. You also want to be close to amenities because people are going to be out naturally on the weekends doing those activities. So if you can capture them already in their routine, people see all of those signs, they're going to be drawn out of their routine. They're going to want to go and do their own thing. The new construction community, use those people as your best friends. Go and make friends with them. Let them know that you're hosting this. Maybe they'll do a joint open house. You can kind of have a little party. They love when you send them free business and vice versa. It's a great way to pick up unrepresented buyers. It's also a great way to pick up potential sellers. So I use that opportunity to go and inform the new on-site sales rep about the house and that what their competition was. So especially if it's a close price point, I want them to know what they're competing against down the road. And then building that relationship with them when they're seeing you there over and over, so that if they get somebody who comes in and isn't quite the right fit for that neighborhood, hey, you know what? I know a great agent who can help you. Or if they get a seller, someone who's already in that neighborhood and is coming to them saying, you know what? I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Who do you recommend? So build those relationships, make the most out of that open house experience so that you're layering all of those approaches and really streamlining your lead gen. One of the other big things that I focused on was making sure that I had a date and time sign at the entrance of the community and in the front yard. Early on mistake I made, I did not do that. And people were super excited and would drive by and they'd come in and then they'd go and knock on the door and my sellers were not particularly thrilled. So I'm just gonna put that out there and make sure you've got the date and time sign on there. For me as a brand new agent, I didn't have any listings. That's a very common question that I get. That's okay. I knew which areas I wanted to focus in on. And so I'm going to walk you through kind of step-by-step days of the week, exactly the process to go through and get those. So don't worry if you're sitting here saying, well, Alison, this is great. I have no listings. Fun fact, if you look me up, you will see that the majority of my business has always been buyers. I'm that oddball agent who actually loves working with buyers. So it's not a deterrent. What drives open house attendance? So we talked about the signs, the directionals, making sure we're clearly spelling out date and time. The internet. So I know, Cari, you mentioned that that wasn't a thing when you started. Thankfully, it is for us now. Use social media, create some events. So I would actually do event posts and invite people to my event. EXP has some great resources in the marketing section for you to be able to post some stats. You can pull those for specific neighborhoods and share that kind of information so people know what they're coming for. Good weather is always a plus. It's not a necessity. I would say the way to look at it is if the weather's great, it's fantastic. You're going to have a wonderful weekend. If it's not, those people are very serious and they are probably ready to buy immediately. I don't know about you, but I don't go out driving around looking at open houses in the rain unless I'm actually ready to buy. Days on market. So this is a big one. And I'm going to say use your particular market as the caveat for what those days are. Charlotte is a very, very fast-paced sales market still. We are averaging about 9 days on market right now. So it is significantly slower than it has been for the last 3.5 years. But so typically around that second week on market is when that listing might be getting a little stale. Honestly, this time of the year, I'd say 3 weeks. So just be mindful of what your market is doing. You don't want to be hosting the open house for a house that's been on the market for 100 and some days. Okay, because the likelihood of that being at the top of the Zillows, the Realtor.coms, where these people are looking and setting their open house lists, the likelihood that people who have wanted to see it haven't already come through is going to get slimmer and slimmer. So set yourself up for success. Another big thing is a price change. So have a conversation. If you're not the listing agent, do you think your clients would consider a price change at this point? I've seen that their home's been on the market for several weeks. Being familiar with that market, if it's running long at that point. Is this a conversation that you're having? I'd love to host an open house and really help drive some traffic for them and help make you look like a rock star for your clients this weekend. Okay. Any questions right now? Okay. So how to set up for it. So start off, right? Open houses are not just showing up, putting a sign in the yard and praying that people will come. Monday, Tuesday, I would pick the open house. And again, if you don't have listings, that's okay. Reach out to your fellow agents. I've seen a lot of agents posting on Workplace for Family Tree, for our Charlotte one. Post on there, reach out, try and build a relationship with some of those people. Hey, you know what? I'm new. I'd love to do open houses. Please let me know if you've got something. I used to go through, so I set up through the MLS a list of all the active listings. And I would set those parameters that we just talked about. So days on market and then kind of a geographical location where I would want to host them. And I would run that list every Monday. And I would call through every listing agent and say, hey, are you willing to hold an open house this weekend? And if so, can I be the one to hold it? And so make those calls on Monday so that you know exactly what your plan is for the week and you can work accordingly. All right. By Wednesday, make sure that listing agent has put the open house dates and times into the MLS so that it now has time to go out and syndicate to those major sites such as Zillow and Realtor.com. And you're getting that online traffic from there. Make sure the owner knows you're hosting. So do not reach out on your own. Have a conversation with the listing agent. Would it be okay? Would you mind connecting me with your client so I can just confirm with them? I'm going to show up a half an hour early. This is the time frame I'll be there. This is who I am. So this isn't the first time that they're meeting me. And then I also would use that as an opportunity to just ask the sellers, are there any specific features of your home which you would like me to impress upon potential buyers when they're coming in? All right. So if it's not your listing, those are really important things to know. A great listing agent will also be able to share that with you, but it's nice to have a little bit of a rapport with the seller so they feel comfortable that you're going to be in the house and representing their property, not necessarily their own listing agent that time. Okay. Thursday, I would go out and either door knock or circle dial for the open houses. This is going to be a personal comfort thing. As I shared earlier, I am not a great cold caller. It is not my cup of tea. I would much prefer going house to house, even if that means door knocking. So I would go out and door knock the neighborhood. I personally found a lot of success getting seller leads. I would invite the sellers to come 30 minutes early. So if my open house is from 12 to 2, I'm going to ask them to come between 11:30 and 12. And there's two reasons for this. One, you want to have traffic and make that listing agent look fantastic. And what better way than to get all the neighbors coming through, and who doesn't like checking out other people's houses? The other big reason is now, especially if you're a newer agent, in your head, you've only got to focus on your scripts and your conversations for your potential seller leads for 30 minutes. The rest of the open house, you're going to be switching track and you're going to be speaking directly to buyers. They may be buyers and sellers, and that's something that you can delve into with them, but it just allows you to kind of be a little bit more centered, a little more focused, and feel more at ease as you're kind of learning the ropes and getting through those. Friday night, Saturday morning. So this is something I'm going to say is going to depend on the neighborhood and your location. In Charlotte, until 5 o'clock on Friday, we have what I like to call the sign police, and they will go out and they will take your signs. They will take them the first time. The second time, there is no warning and you get sent a nice, lovely fine to your firm. So find out what those rules are in your city that you're working. For us here, it's 5 o'clock on Friday. So I would go out at 5 o'clock, start putting my signs out, and then I'm going to make sure that those things are gone by the end of the day on Sunday. Pay attention if it's in a HOA community. Make sure you talk with the listing agent, or if it's your listing, that you're aware of what the rules and restrictions are around signage in that neighborhood. And it's something to also keep an eye out when accepting open houses. Make sure it's a neighborhood that you can put signage out and actually direct traffic to. Okay. Worst case scenario, what I have done in the past is, if it is an HOA neighborhood and I'm allowed to put kind of one sign out, I will go across the street and I will just put all of my signs out directly across the street. It's not their land. They can't do anything to take those. Okay. So showing up at least 30 minutes prior for those sellers to come through. Also, you want to go through, make sure that the house is broom swept. There's no last minute emergencies happening with the sellers. I always do a walkthrough and make sure any valuable items are out of sight and tucked away. Any prescriptions, any of those sorts of things that may cause an issue, I make sure those are well tucked away. All the lights on, the blinds open. And ahead of time during the week, I'm studying the stats of the house so that I know them, and I'm really comfortable when people come in and ask you those questions and you're not having to reference a sheet. Have a sign-in sheet. Thanks for coming to my open house. The seller is asking that everyone sign in. I have a little template I'm happy to share with people. I literally got it off of All Things Real Estate a few years ago. It was the simplest thing. It's just a little 4x6 pad. And what was great about it, it has their name, email, phone number. Are you working with a real estate agent or not? But it also encouraged them to take it with them and walk through the house. And I asked them to bring me back their notes. So their top 3 features they liked, the top 3 things they didn't. I found that this brought the defense down a lot of times. People were more inclined to give me their actual information rather than falsify it or just say, no, I'm not signing in. It also was incredibly helpful for the listing agent for me to be able to call and say, hey, Cari, thank you so much for letting me host your open house. Here are the top 3 features that overwhelmingly people really liked. If you want to kind of focus on highlighting these, here are some things that across the board, they were not a fan of. Oftentimes I would find it'd be something that could be fixed. And so that's a great conversation. Now Cari can go back to her seller and say, hey, you know what? Here was the feedback from the open house. They really, really are not loving that bright orange room. Let's just go ahead. Let's take it off the market for a day or 2. Let's get that painted. Let's get a new picture up and let's overcome that objection. Okay. Block time afterwards. I cannot stress that enough, especially when you are doing more than one open house. You want to make sure that you're capitalizing on the time spent there and you're actually doing your lead follow-up. And I did it immediately. And here is why. In Charlotte, there are hundreds of open houses every weekend. And I know from my own behaviors and my own clients' behaviors, you are going through at least 2 to 4 open houses that weekend. If you do not close them right away, some of the other agents may do that. So you want to make sure your time is well spent. So what I did ahead of time, I would get to the house, I would do a quick selfie video and just say, hey, thank you so much for coming by 123 Main Street to my open house today. I just wanted to send you a friendly reminder. My name's Alison Alston. I'm with eXp Realty. I would love to explore your housing options with you more. When's a great time for us to connect? Monday at 2 or Thursday at 3. And I would just pick 2 random days and 2 times. Didn't matter if they were available or not. Do not overthink it. Okay. But so I would take that selfie video and then immediately when the open house was finished, or if it's a little bit slower and I've got time in between people coming in, I'm sending that out and texting that right away and saying, hey, John, thank you so much for coming in. Here's my quick video. So do that feedback because now you're putting your face in front of them one more time. You're not waiting for them to reach out to you. Sure, they took your business card. Great. You're probably never going to hear from them. Okay. So make sure you're making that connection. And also it's something that sets you apart. Not a lot of agents do this. A lot of people aren't comfortable being on video. I personally can't stand it, but get over it and just do it because it works. It's a connection point that really speaks to them. The other thing is get them into your database. So sit there. If the house isn't vacant and you know the sellers are waiting to get back in, okay, go to the coffee shop, but block out that time so that you can put them in your database and get that follow-up up immediately. Some post open house, other things, make sure that you are contacting the listing agent within an hour of the end of the open house. Call, let them know how many people came through. If there were agents who came through or buyers who said, I'm represented by Cari Briner, make sure you're passing that information along to the listing agent so they can go ahead and communicate and try and get that house sold. Do the same day follow-up, text, email, video, phone call, whatever information you have for them, get that out to them. And then I also would always go ahead and set them up on a property search right away. So based on the parameters of that house they've just come to, I'm now going to put them on a property search that matches that and get them to start seeing more properties. It's going to continue. And then that Monday, whether it was Saturday or Sunday's open houses, Monday was always my second follow-up. Hey, John, thanks so much for seeing you again. Just wanted to touch base, make sure you got my property search. Did you have any questions or would you like me to make any adjustments to it? But stay on top of them. Number one complaint about realtors, lack of communication. If you have now followed up with them twice in 48 hours and they had a great experience with you face-to-face at an open house, why would they not work with you? Because they know you are on top of your game. So 2 extra pro tips I'll add in here. This is something that I found was very helpful. I always believe in coming from a place of contribution. Make it a win for these people before they've even become your clients. So bring a list of any open houses in the area, including new construction, so that you are showing them that you are an area expert, you know what's going on in that market, and you have access to all these things. But again, you're giving them something of value. So maybe that house wasn't the one that they loved. Great. You know what? Right around the corner, here's another one. They're having an open house too. Go see them. Bring a list of similar homes for sale. So even if it's not an open house, and frankly, this works even better to pick up those leads, ask if there's any homes on that list they might be interested in seeing. I would run through that list and I would kind of do a quick check and figure out which homes had. So for example, if the open house I was hosting was a really open floor plan, like one giant room, I would find something nearby that was a little bit more closed off. Because if I get the feedback from Cari that this house is just way too open and she wants a little bit more separation, I'm going to say, great, Cari, actually right around the street, there's another house currently for sale, similar price point. Have you seen this one? Why don't we go ahead and schedule a time to go and see it? Okay. So close the client right there. But you've got all of this information. It shows you're an area expert and it shows that you're bringing them something of use and of help rather than you waiting for them to send properties to you. That is what I have, guys.
So this was, sorry, I wanted to unmute. So hi, my name's Becky. How are you?
Hi, Becky. Good. How are you?
This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is sometimes for a newer agent, how do you handle when you go to an agent and they say who the lead belongs to, or is there a referral fee or something like that? I'm sure that you've experienced that, or maybe on your own listings have had that with some of the agents that have worked your open house. What would be your advice for someone with that?
So I would say just be upfront about it. So my policy has always been, you are there working my open house, the leads are yours, and you owe me nothing for it other than doing a phenomenal job of communicating with me. That's my personal policy. If I am helping out a new agent, so I will go and actually work an open house or two with them so they can kind of shadow and learn. Then I'll say, okay, I'm going to take one lead from this and then the rest of them are yours. I need to make it worth my while, get my one person, but I'm confident that's good. So I would say just be upfront with them, have that conversation. Most of the agents that I have worked with have been very open and willing to work with me and allow me to do this. A
Good.
lot of agents do not want to do open houses.
Mm.
I will be honest with you. So I focused my entire business on this for 3.5 years. I might do 2 open houses, maybe 3 a year at this point, because I have all this repeat and referral business now. I don't need to do them, but I'll do it to go out and shadow and train. So you're gonna, I would say, look for agents that are consistently having a lot of listings, who've been in the business 2 to 3 years, so that those are going to be the ones who are going to be more willing to say, hey, Becky, you're good. You go ahead and take my open house. I'm all set.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alison. So who else? Well, Cari's stepping away for a second. Who has questions? Or I think we have some in the chat box here. One says, well, you said that about the night before the day of.
signs.
You said,
Mhm.
Yeah, you said that you're
I prefer to do
Wow.
them the night before. It gives people time. And so, especially if you're hosting on the weekend, people are driving home Friday night. They're thinking about what they're doing for the weekend. Oh, I just saw that house is open tomorrow. I mean, I'm not actively looking for a house for myself at this point, but I'll tell you, I still, if I notice and I'm like, oh, I want to see what the inside of that house is, I've now filed it away. So just kind of, the more lead time you can give, the better.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Did you have anything else with that? I think it was Lisa. Lisa, did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Yep. I typed it in there before she talked about it. So thank you.
Awesome.
I do have another question. So if someone is newer in the business, what is your best language in conversation that you would have when someone is in the open house? So how do you actually convert those people based on conversation that you're having at the open house with prospects? If you could share something about that.
Of course. So first of all, I don't talk about the house, and I know that's going to sound really strange. But one thing I've learned is everybody can look it up on Zillow. They've got their app right in front of them, and they know it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, and it's 1,400 square feet, et cetera, et cetera. So if there is something really incredible and unique about this house, I'm going to talk about that. But otherwise, hi, Lisa. It is so great to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to come to my open house. I would love your feedback on this property, because you are the type of person who I can tell is going to give me the knowledge I need to make sure that I'm giving this information to the sellers and getting their home sold. Would you mind telling me your top 3 things that you like and dislike about this house before you leave today? Thank you so much for that. And then if it's just you, watch for body language cues. Some people will come in, they'll kind of hover at the front of the house. They're not really sure if they can start walking through. Hey, Lisa, would you like me to give you a tour of the house? I'd be happy to tour you through and point out some great features as we go. And as you're touring them, then ask, so do you live in the neighborhood? Did you just move here? We get a lot of relocation in Charlotte, so that's always an easy one here. What are some of the activities that you like to do? So that's where knowing the neighborhood is really important. If you're telling me, oh, I really like to hike. Oh, well, actually, this is only about 5 minutes from the Whitewater Center. Have you ever been there? Build rapport with them. I always got it in my head that the best way was just have a conversation like it's a friend you just met at a coffee shop. Forget that you're at an open house, and they'll feel a connection to you. And again, it's going to set you apart, because go around to different open houses in your area and listen to the script that the agents are saying, and you'll hear 90% of them, this is a 3-bed, 2-bath, here's how many square feet it is. It's got a great open floor plan and a beautiful primary suite. Right?
Right. Absolutely.
Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So any other, John, you have any input or any questions from that? John is he's one of our other coaches here. And
John's a rock star.
He is a rock star. So John, you have anything that you were thinking of?
Yeah, Becky, I got to be really careful, because I think you can read my mind. That's 2 days in a row now. You asked me if I had something to say right when I was getting ready to talk. So really good job, Alison. That was a great presentation.
Thank you, John. That is huge coming from you.
Really, really good presentation. I loved everything you said, everything you did. I took 3 pages of notes. So my hand is cramped. It's your fault.
Sorry.
A couple things. The market that we're going into, I don't know about Charlotte, but I do know South Florida, things are slowing down, inventory is going up. And if this market is anything like the market we had back during 2006, 7, 8, 9, and 10, we're going to see a lot of inventory on the market. And I think that creates an opportunity for everybody here. I put in the chat that when I was in production, we were doing between 4 and 6 open houses a week, and that probably, and it's not really that impressive. What we would do is we would find 2 or 3 properties that were for sale that were within driving distance of one another. In the same neighborhood is even better. And do a tour of homes so that you're doing 2 or 3 properties open at the same time. That way you and a couple of other agents can hand out flyers on the other 2 properties that are available as well, and let them know when you leave here, make sure you go there. And as a team, you're working together, and you'll get more opportunity that way. And the other thing you mentioned was you're that odd agent who does a lot of buyer deals and doesn't do a lot of seller deals. Yet I know that 60% of the people who go to an open house, 60% of the people who are going to sell their home will visit an open house before they put their home on the market.
That's correct. And I will close them, and then I will pass them off to somebody else on my team because I don't like working with them.
Wow. I'm going to move to Charlotte so I can be your listing specialist.
Great. I will take you.
You're my polar opposite. You know, I sold over 100 homes a year and I never worked with a buyer. So
funny.
Yeah. One of the questions I would ask everybody is just really simple. So is your home on the market? And you're going to hear no most of the time, which opens the door. But you did an amazing job on this. Congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
$90 million. Wow. Congratulations. Super proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a very, very fun, incredible journey. Don't get me wrong, I get kicked in the teeth over and over and over again. So let me also say, yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You're gonna get sucker punch. But you know, I just kind of, something fun that I did is I started a little book. And so my first year in real estate, I had like a little journal, and anytime something terrible would happen, I'd write it down. I gave it a 60-second funeral, and then I'd say, okay, we're done, moving on. And then I kept like all of the positive stuff in a separate area. So whenever I got sucker punched, I'd write it down. It's out of sight, out of mind. And then I'd go through and read one of the positive things. So don't forget to do that too. Cause yeah, it's not always fun. And, you know, we had a drought here and I was carrying around a watering can to attempt to get signs in the ground. Like you put in some fun times. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have that problem in South Florida. Everything is sand. So yeah, you got rocked there in North Carolina. Well, I'm assuming at $90 million, you are heavily leveraged, and hopefully you're not spending at your level of success. 0% of your time should be spent on 80% activities. Hopefully you're really well leveraged.
Yeah, I've got a phenomenal team. They've been great, and it's, you know, I'm very, very fortunate. So yeah, and being part of EXP definitely helps add to that leverage. And I would also add on top of what you shared, John, with doing the communal open houses, a great benefit for me since joining EXP that I've been starting to work on setting up is reach out to agents who aren't EXP agents to co-host open houses with you, because it's a great way to show collaboration and community and give them all the tools. So I'm like, hey, here's all the things. You know what, John, don't worry about it. I'm going to go put the signs out. I'll go ahead and get them out, and I'm going to direct them to all of ours. Do some of that work for them. And then that's going to open up the door to the conversation of, okay, why are you doing this for me? Why are you being so helpful? Oh, you know what? It's part of what's built into my firm's mantra, winning together and being collaborative and having this community. A lot of people have the misconception that because we're online, we don't like to work together. It's actually quite the opposite. We have so many different ways to collaborate, and here's just one of them. So I just wanted to bring a little bit of that to you.
That was gold. Write it down, write it down, write it down. was
Yep.
gold.
Awesome.
Well done.
Who else has questions? Thank you, John. I knew you'd have some
Sure.
good questions and feedback. Becky as well. Thank you guys for just jumping in here and assisting me, as I know you're going to continue to do. I really am excited to be able to give you guys as much space to contribute as possible, because these poor people in EXP Family Tree have been hearing from me solo for 1 year straight. And I have to imagine it's getting a little monotonous. So I'm so excited I have you guys to pour into them alongside me. So thank you both very much for that. Allison, you're amazing. I can't believe the growth. That's
Thank
very
you.
rare to see that amount of growth in that period of time. And what's very
Thank
inspiring
you.
to me is that, you know, you moved to an area you didn't know anybody. And that just cuts out the excuse that I don't have a sphere of influence, right?
Mhm.
And that is why you can pick something and you can do something with it and you can build an entire business around it. There just really is no reason you can't. You just got to figure out what that is. How many of you
Yeah.
are a little bit more re-energized about open houses now that you heard Allison? I know I am. Anybody else have some more questions? You guys just unmute yourself. Comments? I think Chrissy, can you unmute? You had maybe a follow-up question here I saw.
See?
Let me look and see. Oh, there you
Hey,
are, Chrissy.
Yep, I'm right here.
Hey.
I may have missed this, and maybe you said this in the beginning, but when and how do you typically ask for their contact info?
Yes. So, and I will, Cari, is there a way for me to share that sheet with everybody?
Yeah, so if you can email it to me or work chat me, whatever works
Perfect.
best. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it's under the live stream in EXP Family Tree. And then if anybody on this call wants it, you
Perfect.
guys know how to get a hold of me and I can send it to you.
Perfect. So I'll send that over to Cari. It's, if you guys have heard of the company, All Things Real Estate.
Yeah.
It's literally something that I got from them. They come in small 4x6 pads. But I asked for their contact information there, and how I do it, Chrissy, is when they come into my open house. Hi, the sellers asked for me to keep track of who's been coming through their home, but more
Perfect.
importantly, I really value your feedback. Would you mind filling this information out for me? And at
Perfect.
the top of the sheet, it has name, email, phone, and then the 3 things they like, 3 things they don't like. So it's just a little bit more
Yep.
interactive for them. So
No, I love that. I mean, that's typically the wording that I use as well, but I like your approach with asking for that feedback.
Yeah.
Do you feel that people are openly giving you that feedback before they leave, or are you finding that you need to ask them again for it? Or I know everybody's different, but
yeah, I would say 90% of the time, it's such an easy template. So it just
Mhm.
kind of makes it a little bit more comfortable for them. So they're willing to do it. 10% of the time, people are either like, okay, bye, and they're doing the
Yeah.
walk out the door thing. Usually I find those are ones that already have an agent. Or they're just really not comfortable and they feel like they're judging somebody's house. And so I might have to coax it out of them. And I'm like, that's okay. And I share with them, listen, I'm not going to give the sellers your direct contact information. They're not going to know that you're the one that hates the orange room. It's okay, you know, but we just like to make sure we're aware of this and we can show them that real people will hear.
no, I love it. You shared some really awesome information. I built my business on open houses as well, but you are doing them
Nice.
at a much higher level. And I'm curious, when you say 30 signs, are you using a lot of like the push-in signs, like the corrugated, or are they all the
I will.
tent signs?
I'll take you on a little walk with me to my sign closet. And I
I'm
will
just
literally
thinking
show
of
you.
the expense.
I love it.
So I don't know where you are. We have a great guy here, Jim at All Star Signs, and I know EXP has some stuff as well. You can see I'm not going to take them off the wall, but
Okay, so you do have the push-ins. Okay.
Mhm.
Yep,
So we
I've
just
got a
have
bunch of
those. Yep, and then the straight arrows. When I got started, I would just ask around the office for who I could borrow them from. And sometimes there weren't always matching ones, and I didn't care. And it
Yeah.
was okay. And people still came and were excited. Most
Yeah.
people don't notice, which is
Do
something I
you have
found.
your, I've seen both ways. Do you have your phone number on your directional signs that say, you know, home for sale or open house with the arrow?
I do not. I have it on the one at the head of the neighborhood, and then I
Yeah.
have it at the one at the house. The reason I do not have it on those ones is for when myself, or at this point, some of my team agents are hosting open houses for other
Mhm.
agents. I want to make sure I'm being respectful of whose
Got it.
listing it is, and not overly advertising our team number versus the agents.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for
You're
sharing.
welcome.
I have another quick question, if that's okay. How do you deal with that commonly heard phrase, when you ask them, are you working with a realtor, and everybody typically says yes. What's your experience with that, and how do you get them to tell you the truth? I guess I know it's probably in rapport, but how do you handle that?
Yeah, so I just say, oh, that's wonderful. Would you mind sharing with me who that is, Lisa? I have a really tight-knit group of realtor friends. And so I always like to know who's working with one of my buddies. Maybe they can bring you in as the buyer on this property. That'd be incredible. So kind of build that rapport with that. Another question I'll ask them is, that's incredible, Lisa. Would you mind sharing with me what were the things that made you go with that person as your realtor?
Mhm.
Could you tell me some of the qualities that they've exhibited? Because that's something I'm always curious to have feedback on, is what made you choose somebody? Because I want to know so that I can do a better job showing up for a client like you in the future.
That's great.
So just always turning it into a conversation, not yes or no questions.
Mhm.
And just, again, building that rapport with them, getting them comfortable chatting with you. A lot of people are really uncomfortable going into other people's homes, even though they all secretly want to do it.
Yeah.
So the more you can put them at ease and be like, hey, go take a look, have fun, go look around. It's a very different vibe in a new construction home than it is in a resale home. So if you can bring that wall down and make them comfortable, they're going to want to come back with you over and over and over again.
Yeah. Great. I love it.
What
I
else?
also wanted to share, I love your approach of doing the video, sending them a video afterwards so that they get your face again, because
Yeah.
they're usually hitting up a handful of open houses the same day. They don't know who's who. I love that.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, and this is not a knock on myself, but I think there are plenty of brunette women realtors who look very similar to me in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if they just happen to hit 3 of us in a row, I'd rather them remember that my name's Allison, or they can call all of us Allison. That's fine.
I love it. Well, honestly, the video text has been something that I have found has been successful in a lot of ways. I love it as a follow-up to anything. Even if you get a referral from a friend and you do a phone conversation, to be able to send a follow-up video text message so they can see you prior to maybe the next meeting that you're going to have. Maybe you had a phone call, you're setting up a coffee meeting, or you're going to meet at their house. I just think anytime you can bring some personal touch, they can see your face. It's something different that other people aren't doing. The probability of building a relationship and a rapport and converting that is so high. We used to do that with all of our teams across the country when we would get the cold leads coming in from our boomtown even. So, when we would send a video, we try to call them if they didn't pick up, which was 99% of the time. We would send a video that would say exactly what you said. And then we would just save it in our camera roll, so we didn't have to keep doing it every time. So we quickly just send it off in a text, and it would just say, hi there. I just left you a message. I just tried to reach you. I saw that you signed up on our website. I just wanted to let you know, I am a real person. I'm a local realtor. I'm super excited to talk and meet you. Please call me or text me back as soon as you can. Look forward to it. And it would just be, that's it. And what happened is, I think, people forget, if they go to lots of open houses, to your point, Allison, if it's somebody coming on from your website, a sign call, something else, they think it's automation. What we would have people say is, oh, thanks for messaging me. I figured this was just text message from your system. So they don't reply because they don't think it's an actual human being. So we've got to make sure we bring the human touch into everything we do, because I think a lot of people have gotten away from that. So I love that. Follow up is really key to all these things, right?
Yes. And that's something else I'll add. That's why I said, put them in the database, whatever database you're using. If there's not something in there, you can download them very quickly, but set an automated campaign, get them on that property alert, so they are hearing from you every single day for the next 3 weeks, because that is the time period that I have found you're going to convert them or they're not. And I call it buy or die. So they're going to buy or die in that 3-week period.
I love that. And that's right. So 3 weeks is really the time frame in which you want to be getting in front of them. I find, and I don't know if you agree with this, Allison, that if you can get them in person the sooner you can get with them in person, the higher rate of conversion as well. So
Yes.
even if, you know, they say, well, I don't know if this house over here is really the right fit, but we were kind of curious about it. No problem. Let's just go take a look. The more that I can see property with you, Allison, the more I'm going to kind of understand what you guys really like and what you need, and I'll be able to serve you better and be able to, you know, point other properties out. And so let's just meet at the property. It's not wasting my time at all. I'd love to see you guys again and, you know, and get you into the property just so you can start feeling out what it is that you really feel like you need and want. And most people just don't want to waste your time and feel like, oh gosh, okay, I'm meeting Allison at this house and now I have to work with her and she's going to pressure me to buy a house in a week. And, you know, whenever I would automatically just use scripts to overcome an objection they hadn't even told me was an objection, because I just knew it kind of was, they were like, oh, okay, so sure, yeah, let's do that. Because now you're telling them it's not wasting my time. There's no pressure. This is good for me too. I'm happy to do it. I'm going to be in the area. I would say that all the time. You know, interestingly enough, I'm going to be in that area tomorrow anyway. So it's no worries, no big deal. And then that way they feel no pressure. And then if I would get them a second time into a property, I almost always would convert them.
Yep. That's another thing I would use. So I would use the line. I've been meaning to preview this house anyhow. I don't know if you saw this, it just came on the market. I've been meaning to preview it anyhow. Would you be interested in coming and previewing it with me? So now it's taking that pressure off, as Cari's saying, of it's not a true showing, but hey, come, you know, I really valued the feedback you gave me at my open house this past weekend. I would love your insight on this house too. So there's another great way. You know, that's really helpful. If you're hosting another open house, that's kind of a similar area. Hey, Cari, I'm hosting another open house tomorrow from 12 to 2. Why don't you come by and see me there? I think this would be a great house for you to preview.
I love that. You just thank you so much. This is great. And you just inspired me. I'm going to reach out to a homeowner that I met at our open house a few months ago, and I just haven't been able to get with them in person. They just, whatever it is, I sent them a property and that's all they wanted to do with me. And so she did respond. I got her to respond once, but then never again. So there's a house on her street that's on the market, and I've been meaning to text her and say, hey, I'm sure you saw this. Have you had a chance to go see it? I'm planning to go preview it. Let me know if you want to come along.
That's perfect. And so in that case, since she lives on that street, if she knows the person selling it and she comes back with, oh, I've been in it plenty of times, et cetera, great. Even better. You've seen this house. Would you still mind coming and join me on my preview so you can tell me more about this neighborhood and what you know this neighbor has loved about this house?
I love it.
So don't let them give you a no.
I love it. Brilliant.
Cari, can I ask 2 more questions?
Oh, absolutely.
The more you talk, the more questions I think of. So
I'm just grabbing my seltzer. I'm right here.
Yes, no worries. I love it. That's great. I've never thought to ask somebody to come preview or, you know, come along on a preview. I think that's brilliant.
that was really good. 20 years in the business, I've never heard that.
Me too.
Oh, incredible. Allison, do you have buyer consultations with people prior to going out and showing them property? Do you do those
always
via Zoom? Yeah. Do you do those via Zoom? Do you do them at a different location? Do you go to their home?
I'm gonna admit I'm super old school. I do them at the office always. I don't like doing Zoom with clients. I will for our relocation clients, because obviously I have to, they don't live here. But if it's somebody local, I am a really big person. I can judge people pretty well over Zoom, but I really just like to see the full body and see how they're responding, their posture, you know, what they're doing with their hands, that kind of thing. Really pay attention to those details, because you can tell if you need to speed something up, slow something down, like what is going on with it. And the more you can mirror and match where they're at, the better your chance you have of closing them right then and there and making them feel comfortable enough to sign the paperwork. So I prefer to do it in person, and generally at the office. I will say, if I'm working with younger first-time home buyers, Charlotte has a huge brewery scene. And so I have found a lot of the 20-somethings aren't as comfortable coming to the office. They're already terrified of the process to begin with. So I'll meet them at one of the breweries and just kind of get a table out to the back where it's quieter. but go sit down, get them a glass of beer and just kind of chat on ground that feels comfortable to them. But generally speaking, I'm going to prefer to do it in person and in the office.
Okay. Last question, I promise. Do you use a buyer agency agreement or will you work without one?
I will not work without one. I have a very strict policy that I've adopted from day one. You get one freebie with me and that is it. So I will go out and I always make it very clear now. And to be clear, I'm from New Jersey. So full disclosure, I am probably a little bit more direct and aggressive than many people are comfortable with. So feel free to take this with a grain of salt and adjust accordingly to your style. But I just tell people, listen, I look at this as we're on a first date right now. And I need to see if I want to go on a second date with you and if you want to go on a second date with me. So this is a two-sided interview. It's not just about me selling you on me. So it kind of puts them on edge a little bit in a good way of, oh, wait a minute, like you might not like me. And so then I find most people try and then impress me because nobody wants to be told no. So I'm like, okay, so we go on our date. And we'll go through the materials. And if they're kind of hesitant, you know, they're kind of not quite there in the beginning, you say, hey, you know what, let's go look at one house. I'm going to go ahead and pick a house based on what you've shared with me. Let's go tour it together. And if at the end of that showing, you still feel like you are not comfortable moving forward with me, no harm, no foul. Let's agree to part ways. In fact, I will refer you to somebody who is a completely different personality than me to see if that's a better fit. And if it's a yes, then great. We're going to sign the paperwork and we're going to get you started. So that's kind of how I've handled it. And to be clear, I have referred people out because, hey, I just did the work of getting that lead. I might as well collect a referral fee on it.
Yeah. Rather turn down the opportunity now than let you down 6 months from now. Right.
Yeah.
And last question, I promise, Cari, have you done your buyer consultation on video? Is it, in other words, not for clients, but for the rest of the real estate world to see?
I have not. It is actually on
that.
my 2023 list of goals. So as I shared, John, I'm a little old school. So my marketing director just got me on camera about 2 months ago. You know, I'm a pain in the rear end. She loves me dearly. That's all I can say.
Please do it and then load it on my YouTube page, please. Okay.
I will happily do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. So we're working on doing the buyer agency. We're also doing two other things that I found that have been helpful to bring with you to some of these houses. Some homeowner how-tos, maintenance, basic things that you should be doing, changing the filters. Don't forget about that nasty dishwasher filter at the bottom of it. Everybody thinks their dishwasher died. It didn't. It just needs to be cleaned out. Stuff like that. I grew up building houses. My dad was a contractor, so I know all these weird facts apparently. So we're getting all of that stuff on video to help kind of encourage first-time homebuyers to come out and work with us more and just be a better educator in the process.
Cari, I can bring her on Rainmaker Training and Coaching. She can do a buyer consultation with me and I'll video the buyer consultation. What do you think of that idea?
There
That
you
sounds
go.
terrifying.
I think it sounds amazing. I think I'll connect you two on email and you guys can discuss it.
That is incredible. Thank you, John. I appreciate the opportunity in all seriousness.
That's awesome. I will truly connect the two of you on email. And you guys that are with EXP, you know, you can find Alison in work chat. She's also an EXP family tree. As soon as we do get that, and we know that she's going to be on with John, we'll get it out there. I've been doing quite a bit of promoting of John's coaching daily in our EXP family tree. So you guys can do that, but we'll make sure to let you know when this is going to happen too. What a great session. It is recorded. It is live on EXP family tree. You can go back and watch it. I believe there's probably someone in all of our lives that needs to hear this. So what a great opportunity to go share it with somebody else that's already in your revenue share group that you want to succeed, and or somebody that maybe isn't with an EXP that is not getting the support that they need. This is fantastic. Alison, I'm so excited you signed up to do this. Thank you so much.
I love this. So seriously, if anybody has questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. I'm an open book and I love helping other people succeed. So I'm here.
Awesome.
Cari, thank you so much for letting me be part of this.
So good.
Bye.
Thank you.